Hello and welcome to another update video about LINK Chainlink. Still one of the weaker charts in my opinion. This is just a very unusual structure that's happening here. Nothing really reliable. I often get questions about why I have my doubts about LINK already rallying here to the upside. It's just purely experience. I mean, surely it can rally to the upside. I'm not saying it couldn't, and I'm not saying, it couldn't have completed the bear market already, but it would just be a very unusual pattern, and therefore, I'm rather focusing on the coins in terms of getting into them and sort of buying them DCA or trading them. I would rather focus on the coins that show a clearer trend. Yeah, and this is certainly not in an uptrend yet, and it needs to get above 950 at least to consider it to be in an uptrend on the daily chart. That's the simple explanation. Yeah, it hasn't even made a new low compared to the June low, and that is a problem most charts have. Charts that haven't have a very unusual structure, and that just makes it, from a reliability point of view, less likely that it has already bottomed, because ideally you want a clear finish after a bear market, and this is just something unfinished. Yeah, doesn't mean it needs to come down lower, but it means that if I'm looking at two coins, one of them has a structure like that and another coin has had a clear low and is now rallying impulsively, then I would rather focus on that coin, especially if we see choppy price action like this, which looks rather corrective or could be a diagonal pattern. And diagonal patterns always need proof, and they also are less reliable in themselves. So that's sort of the explanation in brief. I mean, let's be honest, we are still in the range. Yeah, we haven't broken out of the range to the upside, and in fact we're just making here lower highs. Yeah, since November we've been making lower highs and also lower lows, very importantly. And that's therefore, I'm hesitant to call this bullish. There are other coins that make a better impression, surely. But of course, this could become something. And therefore, we have a primary count and an alternative, even though I don't really like that terminology. But there is the, you could call it primary expectation, is that we still will see new lows here, because it's just, for me, the clearer outcome, the preferred outcome. But also here there is upside potential in the orange count. The orange count would be the bullish breakout count, where we have possibly already finished a wave one, or we might be finishing a wave one very shortly, and then we could start to scale into a wave two support area. Always encourage people not to try to trade the primary count. Trade the count that is currently being put into an advantage by the market, which means trade the count where you have pivot points that provide you with a possible entry point that is low risk. Yeah, for example, here this orange support area, which I just make that orange now to indicate it belongs to the orange count, which would be the bullish count. But even in the bearish count, we should see some kind of a reaction to that support area, and it is the area between the 78.6 Fibonacci retracement at 584 and the 50% at 646. Now, that might move because I don't have a very clearly defined top yet. This might still go higher. Yeah, we haven't broken out of that wedge or channel, or whatever it is. It looks more like a wedge to me, an ascending wedge. We haven't broken out to the downside yet, so we could still push once more higher. So now let's go into the detail here. So again, in the bearish count, we are in an ending diagonal to the downside. Wave one done. Wave two, where's the wave two? Here. Possibly done, but I could also move the wave two here. That sort of doesn't really make a difference in the short term, but the thing is, if we push much higher, I would have to move the wave two over here. At the moment, it doesn't really make a difference. Then we will move down in a wave three next, a wave four and a wave five, and that could finish off the bear market in an ideal case. However, of course, could be that we are already back in the bull run. For that purpose, I have formulated here a support area to scale in if you want to do so. This is an area where I would expect some kind of a reaction even in the bearish count. But in the bullish count, of course, it could be the turnaround space to trade the wave three. Yeah, and even in a bearish count, we could have here an A wave, a B wave, and a larger C wave, which might then still lead to another low afterwards. But also then it could be traded. Yeah, and I showed you already the price levels for that support area, but again, it might move a little bit if that wave one will eventually push a bit higher. Again, at the moment, this could just be a B wave, or it could be a wave one. Okay, so looking at this at the moment, it suggests to me this is some kind of a diagonal pattern. If we are talking about a structure which is bearish, this could be an ending diagonal with a sell-off eventually down, or here in a bullish count, a wave 1, it would be a so-called leading diagonal, where we finished off a wave 1, a wave 2. Yeah, probably the wave 3 here might now be a wave 4, and it might still push higher once more. Not entirely clear, but for me, if we break out of this channel to the downside, then we have to assume that the top was already in and we had something like this. Possibly the wave 3 was then, here. This was the 4 already, and the 5 was this. So it's not entirely clear to me at this stage. It all depends on, does this trend line hold? Does this trend line hold? And if we break down, then the current support area price levels that I mentioned to you are going to be relevant. If we push once more higher, then we should also stay in the channel. We could briefly break out of the channel. You sometimes get that in a so-called throw over before we come down. But that's what we now need to observe, and we need to be a bit flexible with that at the moment, because also we've got on Wednesday, we've got the Fed interest rate decision coming, and yeah, it's going to be interesting this week. So that's what we observe. These are on the sort of small scale here, the different scenarios that are possible, and it depends on, do we hold the channel support here or not. If you see any bullish reaction down here to the channel support, then it could be that we get one more high here in the 5th wave, maybe into the 760 range. But for me, it looks like this is also nearly over, this move to the upside. The bulls are still clearly struggling, and then we could start this anticipated correction fairly quickly if we haven't already started it. Yeah, I talked already in the previous video about the weakness, also on the short term here, in the short term. Yeah, you can see we had, for example, also on the 8-hour chart now a bearish crossover here on the 8-hour on the MACD. On the daily, we might see, we also have a reduction in negative momentum. So again, that might play out for a little more, for a little while longer here, that we push once more higher. We haven't got a bearish crossover on the daily yet, but certainly we see a reduction in bullish momentum. So negative momentum is starting to increase, but generally still in an uptrend. I mean, we're still making higher lows, we're still making higher highs, but generally when you get into such a channel or wedge, you have to expect at some point here that this is going to break to the downside. Yeah. Also here we saw the bearish divergences on the chart, lower highs on the MACD, yeah, but higher highs on the price chart, and also lower highs on the RSI. You do see that, and yeah, so that's where we are. Here the latest high on the MACD is not does not show a bearish divergence anymore, but from that high to that high you see a bearish divergence, and on the RSI, on the 4-hour chart here, you see them on every high, from high to high to high. We're making lower highs while the RSI is making higher highs. That assumes, or that rather confirms the thesis here, that this is an ascending wedge, because in ascending wedges, that's exactly what you see. The bulls are starting to struggle. Good. That's my update about Link. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.